Alright, so welcome back. Second part of the story speedrun. I'm doing the level 30 and 40 chapter in this video. There's a couple of things I wanted to mention before I get started on the story. I didn't talk about my gear and my boosts last time. Okay, so I'll go over my boosts first. The two boosts I have on here are a celebration booster and a guild XP booster. Those do literally nothing for how fast I complete the story. It's literally just um, for leveling up. The guild XP boost is obviously free, and then the celebration booster, that's a birthday booster. I just have a ton of those, so don't mind these boosts. These are absolutely useless. But the gear, though, is quite important. So, um, obviously, I use power gear. So, you use mighty gear at under level 20. You use strong gear at over level 20. Um, and then at 60 plus, you would use berserkers. A big thing is that I use bloodlust sigils. Bloodlust sigils are extremely important, and then my secondary sigil used to always be a sigil of speed, but these days you have mounts to move around fast, so you can just use a sigil of fire or like a sigil of air. There's quite a couple of options you can do. And then the runes, I actually use runes that give me flat power. Now in this case I have major runes and I have 3 of a set, because the third bonus, as you can see, gives me 30 power, which is essentially the same as running 3 different runes that give me 15, right? Because I'm getting 15 and 30 here instead of 3 times 15. And the same goes here. I have a rune that gives me 15 and then 30 power. If I were under level 40, then I would use 6 individual minor runes with plus 10 power on them. And then the level of the gear, I always use masterwork gear, and I usually re-gear my characters at level 20, level 32, and level 44. And then at 62 you can get berserker gear if you want, to kind of carry you all the way to level 80, where you would usually, if you're doing tangled paths and stuff, you would maybe get some ascended gear and put it on. Alright, so that's all the gear sorted out. Let's get started on the story. We have to talk to Queen Jenna here. That's a good start right there, starting out with not waypointing directly from the instance, which is really bad. Okay, so we go to the gap waypoint, and now we have to go to the trade camp in the southern part of Kessex Hills. This is actually where the Griffin can come in handy. Now I got put at a different waypoint because it was contested. Okay, so what I would usually do is I would go up the mountain here with my Griffin, up to a high point, obviously. And then from this high point right here, I would dive to get some speed and get me all the way to the trade camp. And obviously this is quite a bit faster than running around with your raptor or whatever. Now this mission is just selecting your next mission. I always go for priority here, because that means in the next mission there's quite a significant amount of skipping you can do. So take the priority one. Then here there's no point in waypointing from the instance, because you will usually not have the waypoint yet, the one where you're going. Once again, take Griffin. You can get some height off these tents right here. And then in order to be fast, you should be careful here to not hit the water. Alright, so this mission, we need to rescue some children from this swamp, because they're surrounded by Risen. But the thing is, we don't have to kill any Risen, and we can literally just press F on the children and immediately go to the next one. Which in the end means this mission is like 1 minute. So going to the third one here. And then there's a fourth one still. As you can see, still using my mobility skills on cooldown, just trying to move as fast as possible always. And that's the mission. Now we go to the Selma district, so I can actually waypoint from the instance again. You'll see me making that mistake, not waypointing from the instance quite often, because honestly, like I said in the first video, that's something you would have to get used to, and honestly, I tend to mess it up quite often. Okay, so in these parts there's always one guy that you can talk to immediately, and then for now we're gonna choose the Vigil NPC, which means we need to defend Triskel Key, I believe that's what it's called. There's the reward, and then I take the gap waypoint again. Now this might still be contested, so I would be put at the other waypoint once again. No, it's not contested. I would be better off taking Raptor here. I kinda went the wrong way. I seem to forget things every now and then while I'm recording. Yeah, so this running part you can do quite a bit faster than I did it now. But the mission is once again a pretty quick one. You can basically skip a lot of it by just going straight to the last part, running straight there. So the mission wants you to clear out this entire village, right? It wants you to kill all the Risen that are here. But actually, we can just kill the quote-unquote final group and immediately talk to the NPC that we need to talk to. So we go this way. They kind of just jump down to this roof right here. And then this is the group we need to kill. Once all these Risen die, we can talk to Captain Randar right there. And that would be the end of the mission.
Let's go. I've got your back. May Balthazar strengthen you.
Back to the Selma district. Once again, like I said, there will be one NPC that you can talk to immediately. You can identify him by kind of hovering your mouse over it. This time it's the Vigil guy.
Whatever it was, I think the information drove him mad. I'm surprised that doesn't happen to more Priory scholars, too.
Clearly, the Order of Whispers has no respect for pure research.
Now we're going with the Whispers option, and that is going to take us into Gandharan Fields, which means I'm not going to waypoint from the instance, because I'm actually going to take this character into Lion's Arch now. I have already been to Lion's Arch on this character, but I think it'd be good to show how you would do this if you haven't. So you just go to the middle portal here, you go into Lion's Arch, and then we want to exit Lion's Arch to Gandharan Fields. The funny thing is, I got put at the Asura Gate hub right now, while if you're coming to Lion's Arch for the first time on a character, it will actually put you right here, where I am now, because it'll play the cutscene for first entering the new Lion's Arch, and it'll put you closer to the North Gate actually. It'll put you in between the North Gate and the Mystic Forge. So we're just running west now. There is this other route you can take, especially if you've done Queensdale and maybe Gandharan Fields. You can go to the Tunwatch waypoint in Queensdale, and you can go through this gate right here. And that's about the same distance, and you should take about as long. But obviously, if you haven't done any map completion, then you would need to run further in Queensdale. And also, it's good to just unlock Lion's Arch already, because you would need to be there quite soon anyway. Here, don't forget to take the pirate disguise. I quite often start running and then I forget to take the disguise and I need to go back.
You there. If you have business, speak to the dead man's chairs.
Now there's gonna be some Risen spawning.
And the devil had done for the rest. Ho, ho, ho.
These Risen can actually be quite deadly, believe it or not. They put down these fire AoEs, and if you're standing on a fire AoE and maybe getting knocked down by a brute, then you can actually die very quickly. As you can see, I'm moving off of the AoEs and I'm still taking quite a lot of damage. So I hope I don't go down, so then I don't lose my Bloodlust stacks. But once this first group is done, the second group will spawn over here. And if we're coming here early to basically meet them as they spawn, we can kill them while they're running, which means they don't do any damage to us. And then the last group will kind of spawn in the middle. And as you can see, except for the very first group, I can pretty much kill all the pirates while they're running. And now we talk to the captain first, then we talk to this NPC, and then we talk to the captain again. We need to outwit this guy in a battle of pirate cursing, basically. The best way to do this is middle, top, done. And then go back to the Whispers agent, and that'll be the end of the mission.
Hello, stranger.
Back to the Salmo district. This time we can talk to the Whispers guy to start the cutscene. And then we choose an order. Now, I have tried Priory and Whispers, but I have to say Vigil is significantly faster. There is something to be said for doing Priory or Vigil though, because you will get a single order weapon box every single time. So you could basically work on completing the order collections just by doing this story, right? Kind of passively. Now we have to actually defend Queen Jenna. And I ran past Hiroki without talking to her.
Look out!
This fight is usually incredibly easy. The NPCs, the friendly NPCs that are around help us out quite a bit.
No, you won't stop me. For the queen! Charge!
For great justice! Here, over it!
There we go.
Got away.
And then we have to go to Lion's Arch. So you can waypoint directly from the instance, but honestly it doesn't really matter that much right now. Also because missions are getting longer at this point, and saving like 1 or 2 seconds by not having another loading screen is getting less significant at this point, right? It is worth keeping in mind though that if you do it perfectly and you waypoint from the instance every time you can, those 2 seconds will add up. This is setting the stage. Here we're basically just talking to the NPCs and then getting a free key. And then we're getting into the level 40 story, which is mostly set in Fields of Ruin for the Vigil storyline. This is quite annoying where you first have to read your mail. So this is an example of being actually unable to waypoint from the instance. It wouldn't really get you anywhere. Fort Mariner. Obviously if you didn't have Fort Mariner waypoint you would have to run there, but it's like a super straightforward run, nothing to show there. Now, this is probably the most annoying part to a speedrunner, and in my opinion, it is the most annoying part, because this is where the general is gonna tell us about the vigil, and it is a completely unskippable cutscene that actually takes like 2 minutes or 3 minutes. So usually I start the cutscene right here, and then I go AFK for like a cigarette or whatever.
Enough, War Master. Thank you, Lady Versa. The Vigil will do our best to keep everyone safe. 6 years.
There we go. This is the unskippable cutscene.
Its blue
This
sky,
this cutscene also happens if you choose the other orders. It's just a different cutscene, obviously, but all 3 of them are about as long, and they're all unskippable.
I found others who told of destruction caused by the dragons. Humans in Silvara battling undead that swarmed their shores. Asura driven from their underground cities. Joining together, we gave birth to a mighty organization. The Vigil. We're proud that you have chosen to serve alongside us. Your mentor will be Ford, one of our finest soldiers and the most stalwart Norn I know. He'll teach you to fight with the Vigil. The Vigil was created to fight the dragons, to destroy them, before they destroy us. Some must fight, so that all may be free. Welcome to the Patriot.
Alright then. And now we need to go to Fields of Ruin, but the mission start for this first mission is actually in Divinity's Reach, which is a little bit odd, but you get used to it. It's the mission start is just in front of the Asura Gate 2 Fields of Ruin, right here in Rurikton. This is the same part of the city where we needed to go to Sergeant Hell in the last video. Okay, so we just start the video. We just start the mission here. I'm sorry. This mission doesn't really have skips. It's killing enemies and claiming areas from them. You can get lucky. This one is a little bit RNG based. You can get lucky with the renegades standing outside of the area here. And then obviously you can get unlucky if they decide to move into it when you're on the other side here. But there's no real skipping it in terms of either skipping dialogue or skipping groups of enemies, because you have to capture these enemies, areas from them. Now, as you can see, one renegade decided to move in. We're ready to go to the next area. If we're lucky, these renegades will stay out of the circle, but one of them already aggroed on me, so I'm pretty sure they might come in. Yeah, there he comes. And on this one, there's actually quite a lot of new enemies spawning in and coming into the circle. Now that one was pretty funny. I leveled up randomly and it made it knock back the renegade out of the circle. That's a bit of luck. Here I usually focus the boss down first, but you have to kill all the renegades in this circle again.
Hurts, doesn't it?
There we go, we're capping. He's coming in though. And after we cap this circle, the mission should end. There you go.
And that's that.
Now, actually, the Fields of Ruin part of the story is actually a bit boring in terms of this particular video, because it really doesn't have much skipping at all. Here you can do a tiny thing where you waypoint, and then usually I use this launch pad, swap to Griffin, and then use Griffin to get to the mission quickly. This mission is still quite fast. It is killing some, cleaning out some renegade camp with Forgo right here.
By the spirits, is this some kind of kiddie
For great
playground?
justice!
Wake up out there!
Adrenaline full!
Whoever trained you must be crying right now. You best run.
And Forgol is doing a scripted thing where he throws a torch on these tents and then some renegades come out. There's a bit of a weird thing going on here where if I attack, you can see that my auto attack is actually rotating through its full cycle, so I'm hitting something apparently,
Time to do
but I'm
some
not
real
killing the renegades yet. The renegades only really start taking damage once they're visible.
You're the worst trained, most
But as you can see, according to the game, I'm hitting something right now.
Prepare to suffer.
For great justice!
I yield.
Once that guy is dead, you need to talk to him, and then you need to talk to Forgel. Now, the very next mission is quite boring. It's worth mentioning that if you have a war horn anywhere in your inventory, which I do not right now, I can actually take a Vigil war horn. That's pretty funny. A war horn is actually really good in this next mission, because you have to escort an NPC, and the swiftness will genuinely make the NPC go faster.
So Vigil's my escort? Fine. Just don't tell the rest of the Vanguard.
There we go, we can just give her a bit of swiftness just to make it go a little bit faster.
Careful.
There's other ways to do this, obviously. If you're on a different class, like a Guardian, you can use Retreat. On a Warrior, you could even use a Banner and then give her swiftness that way, right? But it is worth giving her swiftness if you want to keep going fast, because it does make her scripted running bits go by faster. You don't want to go too far away from the NPC, because if you go too far away, she will stop walking.
For some fun.
Gaining adrenaline. For great justice! Is that another renegade up ahead?
Now you can see I have lost some damage here, because I'm on Sword Warhorn on my second set. I'm trying to use my offhand axe as much as possible for the killing in this mission.
We have to help her.
But after this particular mission, I'm swapping back to Greatsword.
More lives will be lost.
You'd abandon your own soldiers?
We all knew the risk when we joined the Vanguard. Duty first.
So while they're bickering over whether we should revive this hunter or not, I've already revived the hunter.
For great justice! Ready for the next one!
Now we just take these veterans out.
Almost ready.
My damage is starting to drop off a little bit as well, because I'm level 54 on level 44 gear. The way level scaling and gear scaling down works means that it's better to be level appropriate with level appropriate gear than to be over leveled with gear under your level. For example, I'll just give an example. I'm scaled down to level 40 now. That means from 54 to 40 means I'm getting scaled down by 14 levels. The thing is, my my gear and all that kind of stuff is also getting scaled down by 14 levels, right? But my gear is only level 44. So my gear is actually getting scaled down to level 30, if you will. It's a bit more complicated than that, because level scaling also takes into account gear rarity, actually. But the simple way to explain is that right now my gear is getting scaled down to level 30, while if I were level 40 with level 40 gear, that'd effectively make my gear 10 levels higher, right? So my damage is starting to drop off until I gear myself up again in a higher level set.
Excellent. Set up the defense.
I take Minister Duran here, because the other mission involves more waiting around and more listening to dialogue, while this one, which is right around the corner here, this one is essentially just fighting and nothing else.
Front and center, recruit. Stop sleeping on the job.
So we run up here. I'm gonna re-equip my greatsword now. That's the wrong greatsword. There we go. And then you just keep clicking the top one. It really doesn't matter on this.
Let's get started. Show no mercy.
Then we go east first.
Renegades on the east ramp.
These renegades would eventually run to the camp, but I'm just gonna kill them way out here, because that means I'm basically spawn camping them, right? You'll see what I mean in just a second here. There you go. The second spawn basically spawns right on top of me.
More renegades are coming from the south.
Now we're going to the south one. All the while still using my mobility skills as much as possible.
Breaking adrenaline. More renegades coming up the northwest path.
And then the last two groups coming from the west. You do want to make sure that you kill all the normal renegade enemies before you kill the boss. This mission is known to bug out if you manage to kill the boss before all the trash mobs die. So I'll show you what I mean in a second. This first group is just trash enemies. And then the second group is actually a really big group. It has trash enemies, it has these renegade bodyguards, and it has the boss, Ajax Anvilburn. Now, you want to kill the normal char renegades first. If Ajax somehow dies before the normal renegades die, this objective won't pop up. Kill Ajax Anvilburn and his warband, and you'll have to restart the mission. You'll genuinely have to restart the mission.
Right in the face.
So that's a big time loss there due to a potential bug. So we're just making sure that we kill the renegades first, and then Ajax dies after. I need to go to the Vigil Keep, at which I haven't been yet, but it's not a long run. Literally just following the road here is essentially the fastest way to go. Maybe there's a tiny bit of time to be saved by going over the water here with the skimmer. I'm not sure, I haven't tried it. It's worth picking up the Vigil Keep waypoint at this point, because you'll need it later, and you'll be sad if you haven't picked it up and need to do that run again. And I think this is the mission where we pick what race to help.
Let's talk.
Yes, it is. Alright, so I always pick Hylac. It's not that Hylac is hands down the fastest. That mail is just a random story thingy. Skrit is actually also pretty fast, and Quaggan isn't bad either. But the Quaggan and Skrit storylines require you to run to a different map, while the Hylac story is all in the north end of Bloodtide Coast, which is basically right below Lion's Arch on the minimap, right? So we're picking Hylac, actually.
The Highland. Very well. I'll meet you at Laronto grounds.
And Forgol seems surprised, rightly so. Now, as you can see, this is level 50 story, so I'm gonna cut the recording right here. Next time we're doing the entire Hylax story and then Battle for Claw Island. I will probably tome my character to 60 in between recordings, so the next time I'm recording I will be level 60, or maybe even level 62 for new gear. But I'm thinking I'll actually show Claw Island with under-leveled gear, just to kind of make my point stick that the over leveling and the good gear is really not necessary. See you next time, guys.